Using telephone and email can be quite daunting because you can't see the other person, or you have to spell everything correctly in an email, and English spelling is horrible. It's not logical like German spelling. So there's a few tips I want to give you about using the phone. Firstly, it's very typical here for you to answer the phone with your last name. Sometimes when I phone people, that's all I get is their last name. For English ears, that's very rude. It's very direct. You should always say minimum hello or good morning or good afternoon. It's very unusual to actually give your name straight away in England. If you're answering the phone for a company, it's more likely you give the company name, not your personal name. It's not important who you are. It's important who you're working for. And I know for Swiss people, when they phone English people, when I worked in a bookshop in Bern for 5 years, I would sometimes forget to give my name after the company name and the hello. It was quite a lot altogether. And the first question always from the customer was, who am I speaking to? Because for Swiss people, it's very important to know who you're speaking to. For English people, it's not that important until maybe you have to take a message. Then you say, and what's your name? So it's not a big difference, but it's an important cultural difference, because if you don't say hello and good morning and just give your name, especially in a private situation, I phone my friends and they just answer their phone with Schmidt, and it's very rude to English ears. Secondly, when you're writing a letter or an email in English, dear sir or dear madam is the general thing to use when you don't know the person's name. If you do know the person's name, then use it. So you say, dear Mr. Bewes. What you don't write is what I get very often. I've had 3 this week already. Dear Sir Bewes. That makes me a knight. That means I'm in the House of Lords or something like that. It makes me very important. So it's quite funny for me, but it's completely wrong. If you're writing to an English person, Dear Sir Bewes makes it sound like they're a very important person. So you have to choose either Dear Sir or Dear Mr. Bewes. Email is actually much more informal, especially in English. And I get a lot of emails from strangers who just say, hello, Diccon. Now that's changing in England. My father's generation would find that very impersonal, very rude, whereas for us it's much more normal to use first names straight away. And of course in English we don't have a distinction between you and you. We just say you, it's very simple. We don't have to know how many people there are, we don't have to know their status. There's no du or sie or ihr. So it can be simpler in English. Numbers. The biggest problem I have when speaking to Swiss people in English is that even if they're speaking English, they give numbers as they do in German. So if I'm giving you my phone number, in English we would generally just give one number after the other. It's much clearer. And the trouble is that Swiss people do the same, or German speakers do the same, even in English. So you get given a phone number like 031, 672, and for an English ear it's quite hard, even though it's in English, it's quite hard to follow the sequence. So my tip is when you're speaking to an English person on the phone and you have to give your phone number, just give it one number after the other. Then it's clear for both people what 31 or 31 or any of the numbers means, because you're giving them one at a time. The only exception in English is if you have 2 of the same number together, then you tend to say 55 or 33. That's a very British English thing. You tend not to hear that for Americans.